It was a warm afternoon, unusually bright for a late spring day in London. The streets were crowded with the typical bustle of merchants, hansom cabs rattling along the cobblestones, and the faint smell of coal smoke mingling with the aroma of fresh bread from the corner bakeries. Holmes, my ever curious companion, sat in his armchair, legs crossed, fingers steepled, eyes fixed upon the ceiling as though it contained the answers to some cosmic puzzle. I, on the other hand, found myself with pen in hand, attempting to chronicle the peculiarities of his mind while simultaneously sipping a cup of rather bitter tea.
Watson, you must understand that observation is not merely looking. One sees only what one brings to the moment. Everything, my dear fellow, is elementary if approached with reason and attention.
I nodded slowly, trying to absorb the depth of his words. My attempts at deduction, though growing under his tutelage, often seemed like child's play compared to the precision with which Holmes dissected the world around him. The fire crackled quietly in the hearth, throwing flickering shadows across the room, and I could not help but feel that today, of all days, London seemed to hum with some hidden urgency.
Someone is about to enter our lives, Watson, whose troubles will challenge even the patience of your humble chronicler. Mark my words, there is a tension in the air that is quite distinct from the ordinary clamour of the city.
I raised an eyebrow. Holmes had made pronouncements like this before, some proved trivial, others astonishingly precise, but yet there was a certain gravity in his tone that suggested this time might be of the latter variety. Just then, a sharp rap came at our door, followed by a hesitant knock.
Good afternoon, Mr. Holmes. I hope I am not intruding, but I am in urgent need of your assistance.
Pray, do come in, miss.
Fairfax, sir. Effie Fairfax. Whew.
She entered, a young woman of delicate build, yet there was an air of fortitude about her. Her eyes, wide with apprehension, darted nervously from Holmes to me, as though seeking reassurance from any quarter. She carried a small handkerchief, twisted tightly in her hand, a subtle sign of her inner agitation.
Please, Miss Fairfax, make yourself at home. Pray, be seated. Now, tell me in full what brings you here with such evident distress.
It concerns my father, sir. Professor Augustus Fairfax. He has been deeply troubled for several days, and last night, something most peculiar occurred. Something has vanished, and I fear it may be more serious than a mere loss.
Holmes's eyes gleamed with interest, his attention fixed entirely on her. I could see the gears of his mind turning, each subtle twitch of a muscle, a flicker of the eye giving him clues I was yet to discern.
Vanished, you say? Miss Fairfax, please describe with precision what has been taken and under what circumstances.
It is a small object, sir, golden in color, a pince-nez my father has worn for many years. It is gone. I found only a thin, almost imperceptible mark on his desk where it had been, as though someone had carefully lifted it.
Oh, Golden Pince-Nez, Watson, do observe, the client is careful with her words, precise, yet there is an undertone of fear. This, I suspect, is not a trivial matter.
Indeed, Holmes, I took note of the careful articulation of her sentences, the almost imperceptible tremor in her hands, and the rapid blinking of her lashes. One day, Judd, each seemed to convey volumes beyond the words themselves. Can God!
Hmm. Miss Fairfax, was there anyone in the household recently whose presence might seem unusual, or whose demeanor was oddly furtive?
Now that you mention it, there was a visitor last evening, a gentleman calling himself Mr. Neville St. Clair. He came under the guise of a professional inquiry, though he lingered excessively, asking peculiar questions about my father's work and our household routines.
Ah, an interesting too. His visit coinciding with the disappearance of the pince-nez could hardly be coincidental. Faye, tell me, did your father show any distress during or after this gentleman's visit?
Distress is mild compared to the agitation I witnessed. Father returned to his study after Mr. Saint Clare departed, muttering to himself, pacing the room, and at one point he seemed to examine every surface as though searching for some evidence he could not locate.
Holmes leaned forward, steepling his fingers once again, his gaze unwavering.
Watson, the method of the theft is quite deliberate. There is no ransacking, no indication of violent entry. Our culprit is a practiced hand, someone accustomed to subtlety, someone confident in their own precision.
I nodded, scribbling furiously in my notebook, attempting to follow his intricate line of reasoning.
Tell me, Miss Fairfax, are there any other objects of value, either sentimental or financial, in your father's study?
There are numerous rare manuscripts, sir, and a few small antiques. Nothing as precious, perhaps, as the pince-nez, though some of the letters have sentimental value.
Hmm. Sentimental value often rivals monetary value in provoking unusual behavior. Watson, notice how the thief's choice of object suggests a psychological motive rather than mere gain.
I noted this keen observation, wondering how Holmes could infer motives so swiftly, almost instinctively.
Miss Fairfax, could you kindly describe the pince-nez in exact detail? Shape, markings, any distinguishing characteristics?
Of course, sir. The frame is gold, delicate yet robust, engraved faintly with a pattern of leaves along the rim. It is unusual in that it snaps closed with a small catch rather than spring tension. My father is most meticulous in caring for it.
Indeed, every detail matters, Watson. Observe how the minutiae reveal the precision required to remove it. Our suspect must possess dexterity, familiarity with fine objects, and a calm temperament.
I found myself overwhelmed, as always, by the breadth of his analysis from a mere description.
Tell me, Miss Fairfax, has anyone ever expressed undue curiosity about your father's personal affairs or possessions?
There was a young scholar, sir, who seemed particularly interested in father's research on ancient languages. Though he is no longer in contact, I cannot help but wonder whether he might be connected.
An excellent observation, Watson. Human behavior is a text waiting to be deciphered. We must read it carefully.
Holmes's eyes gleamed with the fire of anticipation. Goat! He rose suddenly, pacing the room in small, measured steps, hands behind his back.
The game is afoot, Watson. The elegance of the crime and the selection of the object indicate a mind both clever and audacious. We shall begin with an immediate visit to the scene, and I suspect that within a few hours the veil will lift, revealing our thief in all his subtlety.
I felt the familiar thrill that accompanied our most intriguing cases, a mixture of fear and fascination, yet also a desire to learn the intricacies of Holmes' mind. As we prepared to leave, Miss Fairfax seemed to draw a small, relieved breath, her hope now resting in the hands of the most extraordinary detective London had ever seen. The streets of London had grown dim with the approach of evening, the gas lamps flickering as if in anticipation of the mystery we were about to unravel. Holmes walked briskly, his long coat sweeping the pavement, eyes darting at every passerby, every sign, as though the city itself contained secret messages meant only for him. I followed, notebook in hand, eager to capture not just the facts, but the extraordinary mind of my friend in action.
Watson, observe the careful placement of that cab, slightly angled, as though the driver anticipated a rapid departure. The owner, if unobservant, would fail to notice the faint scuff marks near the rear axle. Simple indicators, yet they betray a readiness for sudden movement.
I bent down to examine the marks Holmes had noted. Indeed, there was a faint abrasion, almost invisible, on the cobblestone. My pen trembled slightly as I recorded the detail. It was a reminder that in Holmes's world, nothing was trivial.
Let us proceed, Watson. The Fairfax residence is nearby, and I am confident that a careful examination of the study will yield more than the mere disappearance of a golden pince-nez.
As we approached the house, I could sense the tension in Miss Fairfax's demeanor. reflected in the stiff set of her shoulders and the anxious flutter of her hands. Holmes knocked with the precision of a master, and we were admitted without delay.
Thank you for coming so swiftly, Mr. Holmes. Father is in his study, and he is most eager to discuss these troubling events.
Indeed, my dear Miss Fairfax, we must examine every inch, every surface with care and attention. The smallest detail may conceal the most crucial revelation.
The study itself was a study in contrasts, stacks of manuscripts, letters meticulously organized, and a faint scent of tobacco lingering in the air. Holmes moved with deliberate purpose, hands gliding over surfaces, occasionally pausing to scrutinize a mark or an object with extraordinary intensity.
Observe, Watson, the faint indentation on this desk surface. It is a mark made by a small object, and the pattern suggests it was lifted with care, not by clumsy hands. Whoever did this knew precisely what they were taking. Undoubted, Aguilera.
I bent closer, trying to see what Holmes had detected. The indentation was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet Holmes' eyes seemed to magnify it with their keen perception.
Watson, notice the absence of dust in that corner of the desk. Someone has handled the area recently with deliberate intent. Such small manipulations often speak louder than words.
Professor Fairfax appeared then, his expression a mixture of concern and frustration. He was a tall man, scholarly in appearance, with keen eyes that betrayed his worry.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, I am grateful for your prompt arrival. This theft, though minor in appearance, has caused me great unease. The pince-nez is a personal heirloom, yes, but I fear it is also connected to matters beyond mere sentiment.
Play, describe precisely when you noticed the item was missing and any actions you took immediately thereafter.
It was last night, after Mr. Neville St. Clair departed. I attempted to read, but found my spectacles absent. Upon searching, I found only a faint impression on the desk, as if the pince-nez had been lifted with meticulous care. No other items are missing, yet the precision suggests intent.
Holmes's eyes narrowed slightly, focusing on the fine detail of the story. Dash! Through every word, every pause seemed to feed a cascade of deductions within him.
Watson, the choice of a golden pince-nez is revealing. The object is valuable, yes, but its significance lies also in its symbolic nature. The thief's purpose is not solely material. Observe the sophistication, minimal disturbance, precise timing, and a target chosen with personal insight.
I jotted notes furiously, trying to keep pace with Holmes's reasoning. Each deduction was a lesson in observation, inference, and the subtle reading of human character.
Miss Fairfax, were there any peculiar visitors, letters, airs, or unusual inquiries in the last several days?
Only Mr. St. Clair. Sir, though he claimed scholarly interest in father's work, he lingered, asking about our daily routines, our household patterns, even the arrangement of objects in father's study.
Hmm. Observe, Watson, the methodical nature of his inquiries. Such behavior suggests premeditation and intellect capable of planning with foresight.
Holmes moved to the window, scanning the street below, his posture tense yet controlled, as if drawing information not just from the room, but from the very air outside.
The thief's movements are predictable. One can determine their approach, their exit, even the probable hiding place of the item through careful observation of minor inconsistencies in the environment.
I followed his gaze, noting the slight impressions in the dirt of the street below, the faint smudge of mud on the window ledge. Holmes's mind was piecing together a map of actions invisible to all but him.
Watson noticed the alignment of the furniture, the slight scratches near the edge of the writing surface, the faint residue of gold dust upon the blotter. Each clue, insignificant to the casual eye, points to a methodical and meticulous hand.
I took careful notes, fanches, Bullingwood like Holomania, though I knew they captured only a fraction of the depth of Holmes's understanding.
We must interview Mr. St. Clair directly. Only by observing his behavior under scrutiny can we ascertain his involvement. Prepare yourself, Watson. The art of deduction requires not just observation but confrontation.
The prospect filled me with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Holmes, ever confident, seemed almost exhilarated, as though the challenge invigorated his very being.
Remember, Watson, truth is often concealed beneath layers of deception. A practiced eye must peel these layers away, examining the inconsistencies and subtle tells that betray a person's intentions.
As we departed the Fairfax residence, the evening had deepened, shadows stretching along the cobblestones. I could not help but feel that London itself had become a stage for this drama, each lamppost and alleyway a witness to the unfolding narrative.
The hunt is underway, Watson. The pince-nez may be but a symbol, yet in its disappearance lies a story of intellect, greed, and cunning. Observe everything, question everything, and you will begin to see how all elements coalesce into a solution most elegant.
And so, we set forth into the night, the city alive with hidden movements. Why was then? Oh, whispered conversations, and the promise of revelation. My mind, though not yet as honed as Holmes's, hung on each deduction, each subtle observation, eager to learn, eager to capture the unfolding genius of my friend. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint aroma of damp earth from a recent rain as Holmes and I retraced our steps to the Fairfax residence. Holmes, as ever, seemed to perceive the city in layers invisible to ordinary eyes. Every passerby, every horse-drawn carriage, and even the flutter of a newspaper in the wind were rich with potential clues. I, by contrast, struggled merely to record the details, attempting to mirror his remarkable acuity.
Watson, note the peculiar mud patterns on the pavement. Some tracks are deliberate, some inadvertent, yet all speak of movement, direction, and purpose. Observe carefully the depth, the spacing, the faint spiral left by a shoe. They reveal not only arrival but haste and hesitation.
I knelt to inspect the traces, following Holmes' gaze with painstaking attention. Indeed, I could discern subtle differences in depth and imprint, as if the city itself had left messages only for those willing to look closely.
And now, Watson, we must examine the study again. Each object, no matter how minor, may yield insight into the mind of our perpetrator. Human behavior invariably leaves a mark, be it psychological, physical, or otherwise.
Upon entering the room, I could see Holmes's eyes scanning for minutiae, landing upon each imperfection, each irregularity, with extraordinary precision.
The blotter, Watson, examine it. Notice the faint indentation of gold dust. Our thief is not careless. He handled the pince-nez with knowledge and skill. That impression is a trace of a highly delicate operation, one performed with deliberate caution.
Courser, noting the barely visible dust, glinting faintly under the morning light, Holmes's ability to read such subtleties never ceased to astonish me.
Notice the slight smudge along the edge of the desk. It aligns perfectly with the indentation, as though someone had grasped the object, turned it, and replaced it with meticulous care. This is no ordinary theft, Watson. It is a demonstration of cunning and precision.
I scribbled in my notebook, trying to capture both the facts and the elegance of Holmes' reasoning. He moved with a careful deliberation that seemed choreographed, pausing here, adjusting there, tracing each line of deduction with extraordinary clarity.
And now, Watson, consider motive. Objects of monetary value, while tempting, are often taken with haste. Yet our thief selected an item of personal significance. This points to a motive rooted not in greed alone, but in psychological intent. Perhaps vengeance, perhaps influence, perhaps something yet more subtle.
Holmes's words were precise, deliberate, each statement seemed layered, hinting at possibilities I would not have considered without his guidance.
We must also examine the human element. Who had knowledge of the object? Who had opportunity? Who might combine both with skill? We eliminate carelessness, for the thief's movements betray a trained hand.
Holmes paused before a cabinet, eyes tracing the alignment of each shelf, the faint impressions where books had rested.
Uh, Here, Watson, lies another clue. The placement of books, the indentation of leather bindings. They reveal the individual's interaction with the environment. See how some volumes are recently disturbed? It is subtle, yet discernible to the trained eye.
I bent closer, noting minute shifts in the shelves, slight scuff marks, a boat, and of fingerprints invisible to the casual observer.
Now consider Watson, the visitor, Mr. Neville St. Clair. He lingered, asked questions, observed routines. Such behavior indicates premeditation and calculated observation. Compare that with the precision of the theft. The alignment is perfect. It suggests he may be our primary suspect.
I felt the familiar mix of admiration and envy as Holmes pieced together the psychological profile Os, F, the man from subtle patterns in behavior, timing, and spatial orientation.
Yet, Watson, we must proceed cautiously. Our deductions are hypotheses until verified by tangible evidence. One misstep in reasoning, one oversight, and the trail becomes obscured.
Holmes's caution was as instructive as his brilliance. I realized that deduction was not merely intellect, it was patience, precision, and restraint.
Let us consider the manner of access. No sign of forced entry exists. The thief either had prior knowledge of the house, a means of access, or the courage and skill to enter undetected. Each possibility informs our strategy.
I noted the absence of broken locks or disarranged furniture. Indeed, the room appeared untouched, save for the subtle disturbances Holmes highlighted.
Now, Watson, we must interview the household staff. Often, they are inadvertent witnesses, observing behavior, overhearing conversations, and noticing minor peculiarities. Their testimony can illuminate aspects of human conduct invisible to us otherwise.
Miss Fairfax guided us to the servants' quarters, where the maid, a timid woman named Eliza, awaited. Her hands trembled as she wrung a small cloth, eyes flickering nervously between Holmes and me.
I did notice something odd last night. A gentleman had been near the study, though I am certain I did not see him leave the house. I heard a faint click, like metal snapping, and then silence.
A click, you say? That is consistent with the mechanism of the Pince-Nez. Precisely, Watson. Our deduction aligns. The thief possessed both knowledge and dexterity.
I recorded her words carefully, noting both her hesitancy and the specific detail of the sound she had heard. Holmes seemed to commit every nuance to memory.
Hmm, excellent. And did you observe any unusual visitors or strangers in the vicinity of the study prior to this incident?
Slowly, Mr. St. Clair, sir. Lo, he lingered longer than necessary, asking questions about the arrangement of father's belongings. Oh.
Very good, Eliza. You have been most helpful. Watson, observe how the combination of environmental clues and eyewitness testimony converges into a coherent narrative. The puzzle pieces are falling into place.
As Holmes spoke, I marveled at the clarity of his synthesis, the seamless integration of evidence, both tangible and anecdotal.
Watson, it is time we seek out Mr. St. Clair directly. A confrontation conducted with care and subtlety may yield the behavioral evidence required to confirm our suspicions. We must watch him closely, observe every inflection, every hesitation, for these are the hallmarks of truth and deception alike.
The plan filled me with anticipation. As always, Holmes's mind moved faster than my pen could follow, threading logic, observation, and human psychology into a tapestry of revelation.
Remember, Watson, deduction is not mere logic. It is the art of reading the invisible story written by human actions. Every detail, no matter how minor, may carry profound significance.
And so, we left the Fairfax residence once more, the morning light casting elongated shadows across the pavement. My mind raced to keep pace with Holmes, determined to learn, to observe, and to record the unfolding drama of the Golden Pince-Nez. Afternoon had taken on a muted, almost tense quality, the sunlight struggling through London's ever present haze. Holmes and I approached the modest house of Mr. Neville St. Clair with measured steps. The streets were unusually quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. I felt a familiar shiver of apprehension, tempered by the excitement of participating in one of Holmes' masterful operations.
Watson, note the way the shadows fall across the doorframe. Observe the absence of mud or disturbance on the threshold. Yet the faint discoloration along the lower panel suggests repeated contact. Our man is meticulous, but leaves subtle markers for the observant eye.
I squinted at the doorway, catching the faint trace Holmes indicated. It was almost imperceptible, yet to him it told a story of many approaches, a patient observer, and a careful manipulator.
Let us announce ourselves, Watson, calm, deliberate, and always observant. Truth emerges most clearly when one is both firm and unobtrusive.
Holmes rapped sharply on the door. After a brief pause, it opened, revealing Mr. St. Clair himself. He was a man of medium build, with sharp features and a careful, almost guarded expression. His eyes flickered momentarily as they landed upon Holmes, betraying a hint of unease.
Good afternoon. I was not expecting visitors.
Good afternoon, Mr. St. Clair. We have come to discuss a matter of some delicacy concerning your recent visit to Professor Fairfax.
I assure you, sir, I am at a loss as to the purpose of this interrogation. My interest in Professor Locke is purely scholarly.
Holmes's eyes narrowed, sharp as a hawk's, studying the man's posture, micro expressions that flitted across his face, the slightest tension in his shoulders and fingers.
Mr. Saint, Claire, you may rest assured our inquiry is polite, yet we are compelled to understand certain events surrounding the disappearance of a small Golden Pince-Nez from Professor Fairfax's study.
Ah, the Pince-Nez. I do not know of which you speak.
Watson, observe the hesitation, the slight contraction of the lips. A practiced liar will maintain composure, yet the smallest deviation betrays them. Mr. Saint Clair's claim of ignorance carries the signature of careful calculation, yet it cannot withstand scrutiny.
I recorded Holmes's observations meticulously, marveling at the way he could deduce character and intention from mere gestures and fleeting expressions.
Mr. St. Clair, consider this. The object in question is neither of monetary value nor easily sold. Its significance is personal, perhaps even symbolic. A rational thief, motivated by profit, would not select such an item.
I assure you, sir, I had no reason to take it. My presence at the Fairfax home was strictly professional.
Yet you lingered, Mr. St. Clair. You asked questions regarding household routines, the placement of objects, the habits of the professor. Such attention to detail is inconsistent with your claimed scholarly intent. Arya,
I was curious, yes, but only out of polite interest.
Watson, the inflection here is crucial. The emphasis, the hesitation, the slight tightening of the jaw all betray awareness of impropriety.
Noted each subtle cue, each twitch, each inflection, attempting to learn the delicate art of observation.
Furthermore, Mr. Saint Clair, the absence of forced entry at the Fairfax residence indicates that our suspect either had knowledge of access or possessed extraordinary skill. Your familiarity with their routines aligns too neatly with the circumstances.
That is absurd. I merely visited for discussion. I had no knowledge of the Pince-Nez beyond its existence.
Then explain the faint smudge of gold dust observed on your clothing, Mr. St. Clair. It matches the composition of the metal in the missing pince-nez.
Gold dust. That must be a mistake.
Watson, note the pallor and the micro shudder. Subtle indicators of guilt. There is no mistake, only a careful observer who has left traces despite attempts at concealment.
I felt a chill. The evidence, so delicately revealed through Holmes' reasoning, made the truth almost undeniable.
Now, Mr. St. Clair, consider carefully. A confession is preferable to exposure. The item may yet be returned with dignity intact. Resistance will only compound the consequences.
Very well, sir. I admit to taking it, but it was not for myself. I only wished to examine it for the professor's research. I never intended harm.
Aha! Observe, Watson, the partial truth, a clever maneuver to reduce culpability while revealing motive. Yet the act itself betrays both intent and action.
Holmes's eyes gleamed with satisfaction, not cruelty, but the triumph of intellect over subterfuge.
And so the mystery of the missing Pince-Nez begins to resolve its Yet the question remains, why was this object of such significance? Its removal was not mere curiosity, but a deliberate act to uncover something hidden, something of consequence to Professor Fairfax's work.
Felt a sense of awe. Holmes's deduction had brought us not only to the culprit, but to the very heart of the mystery, the purpose behind the act.
Watson, we must return to the Fairfax residence and confront the professor with our findings. Only then, when the full story emerge, the interplay of motive, opportunity, and precision will reveal the final pieces of the puzzle.
And so we departed St. Clair's house, the weight of discovery heavy upon us. Holmes's mind raced ahead, tracing the logical pathways that would lead to resolution, while I, faithful chronicler and student, endeavored to capture every nuance for posterity.
Remember, Watson, in matters of subtlety, the mind is the greatest instrument. Observation, deduction, patience, they combine to render the invisible visible and the unknowable comprehensible.
As we walked back, the city's shadows stretched long and deep. I could feel, as I always did in the presence of Holmes' genius, that we were on the brink of revelation, that the tale of the Golden Pince-Nez was nearing its climactic disclosure. Evening had settled over London, the gas lamps flickering like distant stars against the encroaching darkness. Holmes and I returned to the Fairfax residence, our steps measured, our minds alert. The city's noises were muted in my ears, each footfall and carriage wheel seeming amplified against the suspense that had built throughout the day. I felt the thrill of anticipation, the certainty that we were about to witness the resolution of a puzzle both delicate and complex.
Watson, observe the manner in which the professor arranges himself as we enter. Posture, gaze, and subtle tension. These are indicators of both concern and hope. The mind betrays itself when it believes itself unobserved.
Professor Fairfax rose from his armchair, a mixture of anxiety and relief on his face. Miss Fairfax lingered near the doorway, her hands wringing nervously, eyes darting between Holmes and me as if hoping for reassurance.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, I hope your investigations have borne fruit. The disappearance of the Pince-Nez has troubled me greatly, and I fear the implications may be deeper than mere theft.
Professor, you need not fear. The situation is under careful analysis. Our suspect, Mr. Neville St. Clair, has been observed and interrogated, honed in. His actions were deliberate, yet guided by curiosity rather than malice.
Holmes gestured for St. Clair to enter, and soon the young man appeared, looking apprehensive yet composed, aware that the trap of observation had already ensnared him.
Mr. St. Clair, you are aware that the item you removed has caused considerable concern. Pray explain in your own words the purpose of your actions.
I confess, sir, I took the Pince-Nez to examine it, believing it might contain clues regarding Professor Fairfax's research. I did not intend to alarm or harm anyone, yet I now see that my curiosity has created distress.
Precisely, Watson, the partial truth again. Observe how he maintains innocence while revealing motive. Subtle signals, the avoidance of direct eye contact, the slight tension in the hands betray his consciousness of impropriety.
I noted the manner of his confession, careful yet revealing, a perfect illustration of Holmes's earlier lessons on human behavior and deduction.
Now, let us consider the sequence of events, step by step. First, Mr. St. Blessed. Claire visited under the pretense of scholarly interest. He observed, he questioned, he noted the placement of objects and the habits of the professor. His attention to detail was meticulous, revealing a mind both disciplined and keenly observant.
Indeed, Holmes, he asked many questions. I had thought nothing of it at the time, believing his interest sincere.
Second, the removal of the pince-nez. The object, gold and delicate, bears an inscription, subtle yet identifiable, that is both personal and symbolic. It was not taken for financial gain, but rather as a key to insight, a lens through which the professor's scholarly pursuits might be understood.
Holmes held up the recovered pince-nez, its delicate engraving catching the fading light. He turned it slowly, demonstrating the method of removal, the care necessary, and the slight wear indicating repeated handling.
Third, the traces left behind, faint smudges of gold dust, the precise indentation on the desk, and the subtle disturbance of surrounding objects, all speak of deliberate and skillful handling. Funk, no carelessness, Watson, but the unmistakable signature of focused intent.
I marveled at how Holmes wove together these subtle details into a coherent narrative, each observation a thread in the tapestry of truth.
Fourth, the human element. Mr. Saint. Claire, despite attempts to mask his actions, revealed himself through micro-expressions, gestures, and vocal inflection. As I have often said, Watson, the human mind betrays itself when confronted with observation and reason.
Holmes' analysis left no stone unturned, no gesture unexamined. Even I, ever diligent, could only follow in awe as he demonstrated the full arc of his deductive reasoning.
Finally, the resolution. Mr. Saint. Claire's motives are not criminal but scholarly, yet the act itself carries consequences. The restoration of the pince-nez and the understanding of the intent behind its removal completes the cycle of deduction. Truth has been revealed, yet the subtleties of human behavior remain instructive for us all.
I am grateful, Mr. Holmes, for your understanding and for guiding this matter to a conclusion without undue embarrassment or harm.
Consider, Watson, how the combination of observation, deduction, and human understanding resolves even the most delicate of puzzles. The simplest actions, when carefully analyzed, reveal motives, sequences, and intent.
I felt a deep sense of satisfaction both at the resolution of the mystery and at the lesson imparted. Holmes's methods, while complex, illuminated not only the mechanics of crime but the intricate workings of human behavior.
Watson, remember this case well. The Golden Pince-Nez is not merely an object, but a symbol of the subtle interplay between action and consequence, observation and interpretation. In our profession, every detail matters, and every behavior is a window into character.
As the lamps of the Fairfax drawing room cast a warm glow upon the gathered company, I realized once again the extraordinary mind with which I shared my life. Holmes, ever precise, ever brilliant, had turned what seemed a simple theft into a masterclass in deduction, psychology, and understanding of human nature.
Watson, our work here is concluded, yet the lessons endure. Observation, patience, and method reveal truths that casual inspection cannot perceive. Always remember, the world speaks in subtlety, and those who listen carefully may uncover what others overlook.
And so ended the curious case of the Golden Pince-Nez. London continued its ceaseless bustle outside, indifferent to the resolution we had achieved. Yet within the quiet walls of 221B Baker Street, I recorded the events faithfully, both as chronicle and as testament to the genius of Sherlock Holmes, whose brilliance illuminated the hidden truths of even the most delicate and perplexing of mysteries.